Shall we begin? Shall we begin? You already know the rules. When you come in my house, take off your shoes and super violate that like button. Now, there's a lot going on. I just been sitting back and waiting to speak on some of these topics, right? We're going to call this one same script, different cast, right? Everything that's going on right now, we saw this whole movie. Everything that's going on with the rioting and the looting and the protesting, step by step, play by play, we watched this with the Democratic Party. So now that leads me to ask a question. Where is Mysonne and Tamika Mallory? And why are they so quiet? Remember the infamous speech with Tamika Mallory on the news when she was sitting up there screaming to the top of her lungs? Let AutoZone burn. Let Target burn. Remember that? Do you remember the time? I remember that, right? And in her speech, you could hear she was somewhat genuine when she screamed out about Antifa infiltrating their movement. And then after that newscasting, never, ever, 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 ever spoke about it again. Now, fast forward it to 2025. Now that Trump is in office, we already know that something just ain't right. But I'm not the only one that's catching up and catching on to what's going on. We got some other content creators out there that's speaking up, right?
I knew it was something funny going on with these California protests and riots. I said it in the end of my video. But look, that's a Craigslist ad saying that they're paying anywhere from $6,500 to $12,500 per week. And they're looking for the toughest badasses in the city of Los Angeles. And these people that they're looking for need to be in the same area where these protests are happening. Look at that. Take your time, screenshot that for a second, and we're going to jump into this. Like I always say, it's nothing new under the sun. You have bricks strategically placed in places where people can throw them. We all seen a video where people throwing bricks at FBI agents' cars, ICE cars, things of that nature. Where the hell all those bricks come from? Then you have China saying that they'll liberate California if Donald Trump doesn't protect the citizens of California. China is saying that they were going to step in and protect California if President Trump doesn't. This shit worse before it can get better. We all know a lot of people are tired of why people are moving the way they're moving. And all they needed was a little push. And now you can see what that push did. I really need y'all to pay attention to what's about to happen and what can happen. And you even have people saying that the same protests are about to start taking place in places like Florida and other states. If continues, things could really go bad. Pay attention.
The military has already been enacted. What part y'all don't understand? The military is already on American soil, which means we are right across the street from the Patriot Act being enacted. And if y'all don't know what the Patriot Act is, you better read up on it. And we are right across the street from martial law. You don't want to be up under the umbrella of martial law. But nevertheless, Mysonne and Tamika Mallory have first-hand experience dealing with Antifa and being infiltrated in these streets, right? You ever ask yourself a question? with all this protesting going on in the middle of the streets, why we never got the invite? Have you gotten an invite to these protests? Have you gotten any invite or any roll call to come out to these protests? Have you seen them anywhere? So who's or Antifa? We already know. The problem is that, like I said again, Mysonne and Tamika Mallory have first-hand experience on Antifa and their tactics that's being used against our people in these streets, and we're not being educated by them. I wonder why, huh? Hey, yo, Mysonne. Hey, yo, Tamika Mallory, where y'all at? Where y'all at? The people need to hear your voice. We need to be enlightened and educated on where they be stashing the bricks at. The agitators that was coming in the community and the neighborhoods, which y'all never spoke on. That's why I was going so hard on Mysonne and Tamika Mallory. The agitators that was coming through the Bronx. And, yo, it was crazy because I was standing outside watching dudes breaking into banks, jewelry stores, and the police was told to stand down. Now, all that stuff that happened during the riots, during our time of COVID, is happening all over again. And it's like, yo, fool me once.
ICE riots continue to cause chaos throughout the city of LA, and more protests are popping up, but I found some very interesting things, so buckle up. Now, my whole suspicions that this whole thing was funded and set up from the beginning was right, because this has been floating around. This is a Craigslist post that says they're looking for the toughest badasses in Los Angeles, in which it says seeking extremely tough and brave men for a new crew I'm building. It also goes on to say you need to be physically fit, fast, ready for confrontation, and pays $6,500 to over $12,000 per week. This is posted right before everything popped off, and it even says former law enforcement is okay to join, but no Marines. Now, why would they do that? That's because 700 Marines have just been deployed to LA, almost like they knew, right? But that's not all. A brand new investigation just cracked open with this Chinese communist-linked billionaire, Neville Singham, who actually funds the Party of Socialism and Liberation that forced the hand of the Pentagon to release the Marines. Isn't it funny that his logo shows up at this anti-ICE protest that just passed on June 7th in San Antonio? Interesting. Not to mention, he lives in Shanghai, China, and I'm assuming he's made all his money George Soros style, but this is where it gets spooky. Can anybody tell me why not one, not two, but 3 Chinese nationals was just arrested smuggling in bioweapons into the US? Now, this is linked to a lab from the University of Michigan, and it said that this fungus can destroy crops and cause food poisoning. Wait, hold up. You mean to tell me that China owns almost 400,000 acres in the US around military bases and farmland, and now we have this? I think it's time we look up the ladder to see who's really pulling the strings here. Now, here's another thing I found odd. There's this website called nokings.org, which is anti-ICE, anti-Trump, but they just established themselves. But why is this site registered back in 2018? And I did some more digging. It was actually established in Arizona, but it had no prior links to this being a blog/video game site. So there's that. Then we have Gruesome Newsom filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration to end illegal takeover for the National Guard, which has escalated chaos and violence into LA. Everybody say it with me now. Set up for a civil war. This is what they want. I'm not buying it. You shouldn't either. They want a race war. They want a civil war. Any kind of war to divide and conquer, because they know that there's more of us than there are of them. Make sure you guys hit me up for my guide. I have a book on a societal collapse and how to prepare for it. I think everybody needs this by now. But as always, let me know what you think below.
You ain't gonna fool me twice. I wasn't fooled the first time. So I'll be damned if I'm gonna let y'all fool me the second time. But this is what we're dealing with, people. This is what we're dealing with. It's safe to say it ain't safe outside. Don't find yourself caught on those street corners in between those riots and protests. Don't find yourself out there. Don't find yourself on camera. People, I need for y'all to talk to your children, because now is a time where they're going to be enticed, entrapped to steal. Don't find your, please, 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 do not find yourself, your children, being arrested by the FBI because Antifa then basically put candy all over the traps for your kids to get caught in the mousetrap going inside those stores thinking that something is sweet. Trump is not playing. In 2020, that was the test. In 2025, with the military being displayed and pulled out, this is the real deal. We are on the brink of evil. Evil is knocking at our door, even to the point to where that China is talking about taking interest in California. You know why? Because China done bought up most of the land out there. China done bought up most of the land out there. They own a great percentage of land in America. You know, the land that was taken from our ancestors when we was lied to and told that we was brought here on a boat that never existed. But that's a whole nother video. It is what it is, but y'all let me know y'all take on the situation. Why is Black Lives Matter, Until Freedom, Mysonne and Tamika Mallory so quiet on this topic of Antifa and these paid agitators that's coming through the communities and destroying them? We still got to live in these neighborhoods. And now that cancer that's being spread through these streets is coming to New York all over again. Those protests that happened in 2020 and 2022, throughout those years, those protests destroyed all of the mom and pop stores on Fordham Road in the Bronx. We can't have another situation like that happen again, where some of our favorite stores ain't even here no more. It is what it is. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, and pay attention to your circle before they hurt you. I'm out.